guys, so for Easter supper we did a really awesome pot roast, and I made a loaf of challah bread for the family to enjoy. However, I'm gluten-free and Elena is keto for her epilepsy control, so we won't be able to eat it. So I thought I'd make something different for her and I to enjoy with the meal. So I made some keto cheddar bay biscuits. So it's like a take on those amazing Red Lobster biscuits that are ridiculously good, except keto style and way better for you. So I started with whipping 3 egg whites in my mixer, and I brought them to a stiff peak, and then I folded in the garlic. Also, I'm going to take a muffin tin pan. You can do drop biscuits on a sheet pan, or you can put them in the muffin tins. I prefer to put them in the muffin tins just because they keep a nicer shape. But you're going to grease up your muffin tins or sheet pan really well and preheat the oven to 400 degrees. So after I've greased my muffin tin really well, I'm going to dump 1 cup of almond flour. Keep it still. Of almond flour in my bowl. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt in there. And then I'm going to stir that well with a fork, because I'm going to go in with 2 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to, and I don't do this in your hand at home, I've done this a million times, so I'm doing it because it's just how I do it. So you're going to take 2 tablespoons of butter, and you're going to cut them just really small little pieces into your flour mix. I got 1 big chunk that kind of fell in there, so I'm gonna take him out and cut that up really good. So after you've got that going, you're going to take your fork and you're going to cut your butter into your flour. So I have a pastry cutter, but for 2 tablespoons of butter, I'm not going to use that big old pastry cutter. I'm not making biscuits or anything. I mean, these are biscuits, but they only require 2 tablespoons of butter because it's a smaller amount. So you're just going to use that back of that fork and press that butter into the flour. You want them to be essentially like pea size, you know, like little peas. So I actually whipped it until the peaks are pretty stiff. I mean, you can see it, it's like hard cloud. So I'm going to take that, and I am going to take my dry mix that I just folded that butter into, or not folded, sorry, press that butter into so that it would all be like pea shape size. And I'm going to put my dry ingredients into the bowl. I like the biscuits to also have a little bit of a bite, so I'm going to add about a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder and about 1/8 of a teaspoon of onion powder. And I'm going to fold these ingredients together. And for those of you who don't know what it means to fold, it means you're going to slide your spatula underneath all of it, and then you're going to slowly turn it to kind of sit on top. And you're just going to keep doing that over and over until it's mixed pretty well. I folded it in pretty well, while at the same time trying to be very careful to not deflate all those egg whites. It's going to deflate a little bit, but you want to try to let it still hold its integrity. Then I'm going to take 3/4 of a cup of, I like to use Colby Jack. You can use cheddar, sharp cheddar, smoked provolone, whatever you like. I like cheddar just because it's a little bit of a harder cheese, so it holds a little bit better. So the Colby Jack is what I use though, because I don't have cheddar in hand. So Colby Jack works just as well, and I'm gonna fold this all together as well. and then I'm going to scoop it into my muffin tins. All right, so the amount of the recipe that we did made enough for 6 biscuits, which is pretty awesome. A half dozen is great. So I'm going to put them in the oven, like I said, at 400 degrees. I'm going to put them in there for about 13 to 15 minutes. I'm just going to check on them once they reach about 13 minutes to see if they're as brown and golden as I'd like them to be.